So, who wants to repeat how many protections we have so far? Ahmad, you're not taking notes just like you did in Wednesday? You're hiding there. We talked for 3 hours in Wednesday. Muhammad wrote 2 lines. 2 lines. Everyone wrote pages. Muhammad wrote 2 lines. And he was exhausted at the end of the halaqah. Okay, so now we have the protection of Allah in your religion. And the second protection is the protection of Allah in your life. And we mentioned some of that is like protecting you when you're older, when you need Allah's help. And that's if only if you protect Allah when you're younger. Also, among Allah's protection to you is protecting your kids after you because of you. Note this. Allah will protect your kids after you or your family or your loved ones or the ones you care about after you because of you. Do you know the story in the Quran of Musa and the Khadr? All of you know it. All of you know it? When he met the Khadr was supposed to be the most knowledgeable person of his time. And Musa supposedly claimed that he's more knowledgeable. They met. This is a long story how they met, and they met. So this man was on a mission from Allah. The first mission, Musa said, I'm going to come along with you, alayhi salam. The first mission, as soon as they got on the ship, the rule was, you don't ask me nothing. Moses told, you don't ask nothing. I'm on a mission from Allah. The first thing they did, what was it? What was the first thing? In the ship. Put a hole in the ship. As soon as they got on the ship, he started putting holes in the ship. Musa said, what are you doing? Playing around with the wealth of other people? He said, didn't I tell you to not ask me questions? They went on. The second thing they did, what is it? Yusuf, Abdullah. He killed a kid. He said, you kill an innocent boy? They went on. What's the third thing they did? That's why I brought the story for the third one. He built up, they went to a town, they're hungry, they want water. The town people said, we're not going to give you nothing. They're passerby, we're not going to give you nothing. So the man started building a wall. Musa said, are you crazy? We tell these people you want to give us food, they say no. And you come here and building their walls for them? You know why he was building the wall? Because that wall had under it a treasure for someone whose father was a righteous man. Allah does not say whether those kids are good or not. It says in the Quran, وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. Their father was a good man. The Quran doesn't say nothing about these kids. Are they good? They're evil? They probably are deviant. They're probably evil. But the main thing, Allah protected that treasure under there. Why? Because their father was a righteous man. وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. Go ahead. Allahu A'lam. I don't know the ruling on that, but I know what's the ruling on that in our ummah. Do you know the ruling on that in our ummah? The children of the Muslim, where are they? Paradise, inshallah. But I don't know if the previous ummahs, the ummah of Musa alayhi salam is similar, which I presume is similar to us since he didn't do nothing, but this was a special mission and a lesson to the ummah after them in many ways. This is also totally a different story that has many lessons. So I presume that their rules are probably just like ours, that the children of the believer, as long as they didn't reach puberty, will enter heaven. Okay, Ibn al-Munkadir, rahimahullah, says, Allah will protect with a righteous man his child and his grandchild and great-grandchild and his neighborhood and his surrounding area, all because of one person, who is a righteous person. His son, his grandson and great-grandson, and his town and the surrounding town because of the goodness of one person. You know, Allah will protect in every single manner you can think of. When a servant of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the name of that servant is not mentioned in the hadith. He went on a ship, and the ship was about to sink. So they took shelter in an island. in the island was a very fierce animal. Fierce animal. An island. And that animal's there alone. What do you expect is going to happen? You're going to die. You're going to die. He's going to eat him. He's alone there in the island. What happened is the opposite. He told him, he's talking to an animal. I am the servant of the Prophet ﷺ on a ship, on a mission from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. That prey and that animal turned into someone that guided him where the people of the town were. It took him, the hadith says, it took him to where the people was, and when he got there, he gestured him in a good way as though he's saying goodbye to him and went away. This is one of the ways that Allah protects. You know, this is not just during the Prophet ﷺ time. In Egypt in the 60s, the Muslims went through massive torture in the prison by a leader named Jamal Abdel Nasser, who was an Arabic nationalist, and he oppressed Muslims very bad in his time. In fact, it was probably one of the harshest times for the Islamic people in Egypt. Probably some of the severest torture that is on this planet happened at that time to the Muslims over there in the 60s, to what we know as the Muslim Brotherhood. Amongst them is a scholar, Shaykh Abdul Hamid Kesh, who's a blind scholar in prison, narrates a story about one of his scholars. He said, this colleague, they left ant dogs, fierce dogs, hungry for days, that want meat. And they kept them for days and days. And they kept the scholar there. You're going to go back on some of the things you said or no? He said no. And they brought him in a small room and opened the door on the dogs. What do you think the dogs did? Attack? That's what we would expect. That's what we would expect. But the opposite happened. He bowed down to sujood to Allah, and they were standing there guarding him. In fact, he says, he narrates, I can't remember the name of the second scholar, but the scholar who narrated says, when he was making sujood, their saliva was dropping on him. You know how dogs always have saliva coming down? It was dripping on him. He said, I was wondering in my sujood, is that najis that I have to make wudu, or do I have to continue in my prayer? And he got vicious dogs around him. This is how Allah protects a human being, when you protect Allah. But no, you sit and commit sins, and do things Allah prohibited in your luxury time, and then you get hit with a misery. You say, where's Allah's protection? Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. Like Ahmad, he says, right? The next statement, we talked about protect Allah, He will protect you. Protect Allah, you will find Him before you. The next statement is if you ask Allah. And this is important at the core of Aqidah. What does it mean when you ask Allah? Meaning that you need to ask some people sometimes, or you dependent upon someone sometimes, you ask only Allah. This one and the following statement after it are similar. If you seek the aid of someone, you seek the aid of Allah only. And on dua, I like to mention some hadith on dua if you want to write them down. Tirmidhi narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, ask Allah from His grants because Allah loves to be asked. سَلُوا اللَّهَ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ أَنْ يُسْأَلَ. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith narrated by Aisha, whomever does not ask Allah, Allah will be mad at him or will curse him. Narrated by both Aisha and by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah loves those who are persistent in their dua. Persistent meaning what? You don't ask Allah one time, well Allah give me this and that, and then Allah doesn't give it to you, so why Allah didn't give this to you? When you say, why didn't Allah give this to me, that's one of the signs your dua is going to be rejected. That's one of the signs. Don't say, why didn't Allah give it? You know, I read stories, when you read the biography of some of the scholars, they say, he made dua for 30 years, and that thing never happened, and he was still expecting that Allah's going to give it to him. He never said, 30 years and I made dua and Allah never gave it, and I'm a scholar and I write books. No, you got to be persistent in your dua. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُلِحِّينَ فِي الدُّعَاءِ. The Prophet ﷺ said, let someone ask Allah anything he needs, even shoelace for his shoes. Even shoelace for his shoes. The Prophet ﷺ said to ask Allah for even shoelace for your shoes. يسأل أحدكم ربه حاجته حتى يسأله شراك نعله إذا انقطع. The Prophet ﷺ gave commitment to Abu Bakr and Abu Dhar and Thawban that they never asked anyone anything. And as I told you last week, they went to the point, if they're sitting on a camel and one of their sticks fall, all they got to do is better than coming back down and back up again and on. It's tough. Say, Muhammad, hand this to me. They wouldn't even go to the point of asking someone to do that. Amongst them is Abu Bakr, Abu Dhar and Thawban. And Allah says in a hadith al-Qudsi, O my servants, if every one of you came to me and asked me everything he desired, everyone in the sky and the earth came to me and asked me everything they desired. This is a hadith al-Qudsi. Hadith al-Qudsi is just like a verse in the Quran where Allah is talking. And asked me everything they desired, it will not make anything that I have any less than if you were to take a string, you take a little string and dip it in an ocean. What does it take out of the ocean? Well, nothing. That's how much if Allah gave everyone in the sky and in the earth, the angels, the human, the jinn, everything they desire, it's just like putting a string in the ocean and taking it in. How much water does it take out? Not even, it doesn't even absorb a drip of water in it. That's how much Allah's kingdom is, and that's how much Allah doesn't care about giving. Dua to Allah is one of the core of ibadah, and it's something a lot of the Muslims today unfortunately lack. You find them praying and doing good things, but one of the things they miss out on is dua. And I think it's probably among the most important things that one should do is dua, because it keeps you close to Allah. I mentioned last week a recent situation that was 15 years old about someone who was committed to be hung or killed because he had killed someone else, and how Allah protected him. But there's many other situations similar to that. There was a man, Taqiyya al-Andalusi, who was a leader in Spain. They came to him, and a woman came to him. She said, my son is a capture with the enemies. What am I going to do? I'm a lonely woman, and my son is there. He says, go back, we'll look into the situation and tell you what we're going to do. You know what Taqiyya al-Andalusi did? What do you think he did? Dua. He did dua. She comes, and this was a fierce enemy. It wasn't able to even bargain over her child. They went, she came back the next day, and her son is with her. Her son is with her, the one who was a soldier. He said, how did he come out? He said, he came walking here at night. He said, when did they release you? It was the same time that Taqiyya al-Andalusi was making dua. He said, I was there, we were all chained up. The chain on my feet broke. He said, they brought the people to solder it back on and fix it. They fixed it. It broke again. And then they broke again. The bishops and priests said, release this man, he has someone behind him making dua for him. That's the power of dua. The power of dua, Muhammad ibn al-Munkadir said, I was sitting in the masjid one day, and a black man came in. We've been asking Allah for rain and rain and rain. No one, Medina usually has the most pious people of all times. Usually has the most pious people. So if the people of Medina make dua and Allah doesn't give them a drop of rain, it's probably for something they did. They make istisqa. We have a special prayer called al-istisqa. Al-istisqa. No drops of rain come down. He said, I was sitting in the masjid that night. A black man comes in. This is al-Zahabi. If you want to look it up, al-Zahabi is talking about the life of Muhammad ibn al-Qadir. He said it was one of the most amazing things of his life. He said, I was in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, and it's at night. I'm worshipping at night, and a black man comes in. He doesn't even have enough to cover his upper clothing. And he looks around. He makes sure there's no one watching. When he doesn't see me. It's dark and he doesn't see me. So that black man gets up and says, Oh Allah, prays to Rak'ah. He says, Oh Allah, all the people of Medina made dua that rain come down, and you didn't answer. Oh Allah, wallahi you're going to bring down rain. Wallahi, meaning you for sure you're going to bring down. Muhammad ibn Qadir said, what a crazy man. All the people of Medina. Muhammad ibn Qadir is a scholarly man, like the 4 Imams or more. He said, all the Medina did dua, and no one responded. Allah's going to respond to this man? He said it again. Oh Allah, you know, no one from Medina you never accepted for them. Oh Allah, accept my dua. The third time, he said, Wallahi, when he said, Wallahi Allah, you're going to bring the rain down. The third time, it started pouring in hail and rain upon us. We have to gather to ask Allah a few days later to stop the floods that are happening in Medina. And this is who? Someone, Muhammad ibn Muqaddir doesn't even mention his name. A black man no one knew. But to Allah, He doesn't look down upon anyone. Doesn't leave the shout of anyone. Ud'uni astajib lakum. You do your part to Allah, Allah's going to do a reply back to you. There's a book called La Tahzan. It mentions some of the stories of those who were were accepted. And among those was a man in a desert. These are recent stories by a reputable scholar. He said he was in a desert, taking his children and family out, and they didn't have transportation to go back. The first day, the second day, became very thirsty. In deserts, if you don't have water, you're destined to die. He said, I went from the east of where we're at to the west, back, north. No one is around. He said, then I said, why don't I pray to Allah and ask Allah? And exactly what he did. He said, Wallahi, when I was done with my prayer, Allah showered me with rain. And he said, I thought it was normal, maybe just rain. He said, I went a few meters away from where I was at. There wasn't a single drop of rain over there. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ. Who is the one who responds to the one who is extremely needy when he calls for him? He is Allah. Abu Ma'lam al-Ansari was a Sahabi. He was on his destiny on a journey to go somewhere. And there was someone who wanted to steal his belongings and kill him. So he captured him, took his belongings. Abu Ma'lam said, do you allow me to pray 2 rak'ahs? He said, yeah, pray 4. Take 4. You're dying. I got the weapons, you got nothing, you're under my control. Pray 4 or more. He said, I prayed 4. And I said, Ya Allah, Ya Halim, Ya Wadud, Ya Rabb al-Arsh al-Kareem. Talking about Allah's names and attributes and begging with those names and attributes that Allah rescue him from that man. He said, when I was done, I looked up and there was someone nice and clean and very nice clean clothes and a nice horse there to watch over us. And he, as soon as he came, cut his neck off, cut the neck of the intruder who wanted to steal my wealth. I said, I asked you by Allah, where did you come from? He said, he made the dua, I told you 3 times. He said, when you made it the first time, the sky shook. When you did it the second time, the angels began talking about it. When you did it the third time, the angels began arguing, who's the one who wants the duty to come down to this earth and protect you? Why? Because he raised his hands to Allah. There's nothing Allah will not give you. There's nothing that you ask Allah. You know, a doctor could tell you, you're blind or you have a terminal disease, and you raise your hands to Allah. Wallahi, if you sincerely make dua, Allah is going to cure you. You know, Ibn Wahab said, I passed by Ibn al-Mubarak. Ibn al-Mubarak was walking in the street, and a blind man came up to Ibn al-Mubarak. Ibn al-Mubarak is a very known scholar, knowledgeable, and very fearful of Allah. Ibn al-Mubarak was passing, and this blind man said, Ibn al-Mubarak, make dua for me. I'm blind. He said he made dua for him and put his hand on his eyes. He said, Wallahi al-Azim, his eyesight turned back to him. Eyesight turned back to him. You hear of instances today, a recent instance that happened, where a woman married 3 husbands. 3 husbands. These 3 husbands, one after other, divorce her because she can't have kids. You know, they want kids. And they divorce her. She reached to an age where she can't have kids because she's over 40. And she turned to Allah. Rabbi habli min ladunka dhurriyatan tayyibah. Oh Allah, bless me with some children. You know what happened? Allah blessed her at an age where she herself could never conceive it naturally. Why? Because it's all in the hands of Allah. When you have any problem, you need someone to seek refuge to, like this hadith implies. And that person or that someone you need to turn to is Allah. When you have depression, you turn to Allah. The Prophet ﷺ told us, when you have depression, you ask Allah. Allahumma inni abduk. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan. Wa a'udhu bika min al-'ajzi wal-kasal. Wa a'udhu bika min al-jubni wal-bukhl. وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ غَلَبَةِ الدَّيْنِ وَقَهْرِ الرِّجَالِ. This was a dua. Wallahi al-Azim, if you sincerely say this dua, if you're in debt, and you're depressed, Allah's going to relieve you of both. Wallahi al-Azim, try it. Try it and be sincere. Wallahi al-Azim, is going to happen. Ask me why. Go ahead, sister. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you're determined to get your reply, it's not like you're telling Allah what to do. It's a form of dua.
How?
How?
Say it again.
Some of the Sahaba and some of the Tabi'in, Wallahi, Allah is going to allow us victory. Why? It's permissible. Because the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ لَوْ أَقْسَمَ عَلَى اللَّهِ لَأَبَرَّ. If they swear to Allah something, Allah is going to give that to them. Go ahead. Allah is going to give that to them. Allah is going to give it to them. Meaning, the same way you say, oh Allah, Allahumma, give me a child, give me a wife, give me a husband, whatever you make a dua of, whatever you make a dua of and you ask Allah, Allah inshallah will reply to that. Another form of dua is to say, Wallahi, Allah is going to do this. Some of the Sahaba were on the verge of defeat. You know, I think it's Al-Bara ibn al-Azib. This Al-Bara ibn al-Azib had a dispute. His relative did something to someone else, and the judgment of the Prophet ﷺ was that her tooth be broken. Was it her tooth? I can't remember. Something, she broke someone's tooth, her tooth's going to be broken. So, the judgment is there. And they didn't want that. How are you going to break her tooth? She's with her family. So Al-Bara ibn al-Azib said, Wallahi, her tooth is not going to be broken. The Prophet issued a judgment. And everyone tried to go to the Prophet, you know, we can't let this happen, and we'll let us compensate them instead of this. Their family refused. This Al-Bara ibn al-Azib said, Wallahi, it's going to happen. And you know what? They got the news that the family accepted the material compensation, gold and silver, to forgive the Al-Bara ibn al-Azib's family. The Prophet ﷺ, they told him, how did this happen? He said, there are those who they swear by Allah like this. Allah is sincere. Allah is surely to accept it from them. The days went on. I think it was Umar ibn Khattab's time when they were defeated in a battle. And what happened? They're defeated. Umar says, go to this man and ask him to make dua for you. And this was days, years after vanished. No one even paid any more attention to him. So they went to him, they said, make dua for us. He said, Wallahi, after a defeat that was annihilating the Muslim, he said, Wallahi, we're going to be victorious today. Wallahi, I'm going to die a martyr today. He wanted both of them, and he got both of them. It changed to and this has happened. A lot of the Sahaba, you were in situations where they raise their finger to Allah, and Allah gives them their response. Go ahead, Muhammad.
Well, what about when you on dua, like that you swear to Allah and they don't have it?
Well, it depends on something. Maybe, first of all, your prayer doesn't have to be answered on the spot. Allah could, for that prayer you're asking, maybe you're asking for something you want it so bad, that something that you want so bad is bad for you. So Allah's going to deter from you. It could be some evil, you don't see it, foresee it. Some evil that's coming to you, Allah will turn it away from you. Allah will accept it, or Allah will save it for you on the judgment day and give you rewards for it. These are the three ways that a dua is accepted. But if you're persistent, inshallah, in this life, it will be accepted. You got it? You got it? Well, you could ask Allah, yes you could, but if it doesn't happen, you could ask Allah. If it's, you dearly want it within a week or so, you could ask Allah that. But if it doesn't happen, the problem is don't say, oh, I've been making dua, and it never gets accepted.
When you make dua like that and you swear upon the dua, that's to yourself, or you say that in public? Or?
No, you don't have to. The way you make dua is between you and Allah. You could be silent. Of course you move your lips. In dhikr and dua and everything, you move your lips. You don't have to shout. Wallahi, like Allah, you're gonna, oh Allah, you're gonna, no. Don't make your voice too high or too low. The Sahaba asked the Prophet ﷺ, how do we make our dua? Do we ask Allah, oh Allah, give us this? Or do we say, oh Allah, give us this? Allah revealed in the Quran, وَلَا تَجْهَرْ بِصَلَاتِكَ وَلَا تُخَافِتْ بِهَا وَابْتَغِ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ سَبِيلًا. Between the two, low voice, Allah can hear you. And Allah, when He talks about Surah Maryam, ذِكْرُ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّكَ عَبْدَهُ زَكَرِيَّا إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ نِدَاءً خَفِيًّا. Allah, Zakaria had a problem similar to what I'm talking about. He couldn't have kids, him and his wife, and they reached a very old age, and both of them couldn't conceive kids. So he's seeing how Maryam was getting grants from Allah. she was getting, he's the one, he was in charge, he was her custodian. She get foods of the winter in the summertime. He would go to feed her. She has the food of the winter in the summer. It's summertime, and food that only they have in winter is there. In the opposite. In summertime, she has the food of the... He said, how did this happen? This was a lesson to him that you can't have kids make dua to Allah. The one who brought this miracle is going to bring you miracles too. A lesson to him. And that's exactly when he made the dua. And that's always also preparing Maryam alayhi salam. The same one who brought you this food and astonished Zakaria and no one knows where it came from. The same way you're going to have a baby that no one knows where it came from. It was also preparing for them. So Zakaria saw all this and he said, what did Zakaria say? Rabbi habli min ladunka dhurriyatan tayyiba. Oh Allah, give me children that will grow up to be good children. And this is the dua of someone who can't conceive kids. But the point I brought the story is, إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ نِدَاءً خَفِيًّا was an answer to you. Allah describes him when he makes the nida as called nida'an khafiyya. In Arabic, nida means shouting. Khafiyya means low tone. If someone ignorant looks at the Quran like this, he says, what is this, a contradictory? Was he higher in his voice or was he lower in his voice? Quran is not stable like that. What's the answer, Ustad Abdullah? Since what are you thinking about? The answer to that, does anyone know, Yusuf? The answer to that is nida'an khafiyya. To Allah, he heard it very loud. Nida'an. Because Allah, do you ever hear an ant walking on a stone on a desk? If I don't want to come over, you hear her? Allah hears every single ant's footsteps and every stone, like Allah said about himself in the Hadith al-Qudsi. If ants were to come on a desk right here, I can't even hear her. Allah from on top of the sky hears her. So to Allah, the calling of Zakaria was very low. But to Allah, it was shouting. Because Allah can hear everything and He can hear it clearly. You got it? Questions? Oh, by the way, I don't know why we go far and talk about these stories of people who got their dua accepted. When we got our dua accepted, 2 weeks ago we made dua last Jum'ah for Brother Muhammad. His wife was pregnant, who's not with us. She used to come every week. And we made dua for him that he have a kid, his child, and his child be inshallah healthy and nice looking and handsome. And you know what? They were expecting her about 2 weeks later. It was less than 12 hours after the Jum'ah. 12 hours. Now he's the father. Don't call him Muhammad no more. Call him Abu Jibril. The father of Jibril. He's the father of Shaykh Jibril Jr. But you gotta put Junior, otherwise I'll be jealous. Okay? Inshallah you raise him to be a good kid that inshallah on his shoulders liberates Palestine. Because the old generation, our generation, quite honestly, is a generation of failures. We didn't achieve much. Inshallah, it's going to be the new generation who liberates Palestine and who take this ummah out of the misery it's in. And how we do that is by raising our kids on the Quran and the Sunnah and teaching them this that we learn here every day, every week. Go ahead.
Just understand your understanding. So it's something like okay, you wish something to Allah and you want it, or you have a very good heart to wish that thing. Because that's the way you think.
If you wish on what? We don't wish in Islam, we make dua.
Yeah, okay, I'm using the word wish.
But it's a big difference. No, big difference. Wishing could be in your heart wishing. When we make dua, we move our lips, and there's some manners that apply with the dua as well. But not only is it a clean heart that's enough. You have to be, a lot of people may supposedly or claim to have clean hearts and would never oppress someone, but don't follow the guided path of Islam. Their dua could be accepted. Could be accepted. We don't say it won't be accepted, but as a Muslim, if he has sins, it will not be accepted or may be rejected as a test or retaliation for that which he did. So you have to first of all be on the straight path, free from sins, and ask Allah and follow Allah's commands, then ask Allah the dua that you want.
On top of that question, you hear a lot of people who don't really understand the Aqidah, saying that I supplicated to such and such prophet, or such and such saint, or such and such other things past Allah, and my prayer was answered. So I must be right. I must be on the right path.
Yes, that's why this hadith says, if you ask Allah. The hadith says, if you ask Allah. إِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلِ اللَّهِ. The hadith is clear, meaning don't turn to no one other than Allah. That's why in the beginning we said, you're going to need someone desperately in your life. You're going to need someone desperately in you. You can't live this life thinking you can go on your own. I don't care how big of a giant you are, or how much you can handle, or how small you are, you need someone to turn to. And that someone who you turn to from this hadith is Allah. How you turn to Allah? By prayer and asking Allah, and of course, solely to Allah. You wasn't asking that? Yeah, his point is you ask Allah only, you don't ask other people. Isn't that right?
They ask other people and the dua with the answer. So the explanation is different.
Oh, that's what he's asking? Well, Allah could reply to someone who asks other than him as a torment to him. He's going to think that is right who I worship, as a torment to him to stay on that misery you're on. And in the judgment day is the day where you will be judged. Or could have Allah already wrote in His book that it's going to happen, and it just coincidentally happened. So either way. Okay, for the dua, there's some manners for the dua, or some things you keep in consideration. First one, like the brother said, we don't ask. Like Abdullah said, we don't ask but Allah. Number one, you keep that in your mind. Number two, it's nice to do good things. Why? Because when you do good things, you can turn to Allah and tell Allah, oh Allah, I did so and so give me this. Oh Allah, I read the Quran 10 times, so help me out of this misery. Why could we say that? Is that shirk? Abdullah, you know what the proof is on that? You know the hadith. Exactly. The three people of the cave. What happened to them? You should not recite Quran unless it's coincidental that the dua you want to make is in the verse in the Quran. That's different. Okay. What did he do to his parents? This goes back to the manners how we treat our parents.
They asked him to drink the milk. He would go and drink the milk, and he came back, and they're still kicking. So he wouldn't do anything like he would just stand there and wait until they wake up. And the kids, I think, his kids or his wife would ask him to drink it, and he would say no. He's going to drink because he would know.
Exactly. He would give up. He would come work all day long, and one day he came in late, and he found his parents asleep, and his kids crying for the food or the milk that he had with him, and he refused to give them before he gave his parents. And all night long he waited over the heads of his parents so he could feed them. Then he could feed his children, like Abdullah said. And then he said, "Oh Allah, they're doomed in a cave. Some rock came upon them, and they were going to die there out of hunger and starvation." He said, "Oh Allah, if you know we did this for the sake of Allah, and only for the sake of Allah, then open this for us." They opened a little bit. The second one, jog your memory. What was it? No, not seducing. Close to that. His cousin. He wanted to commit adultery with his cousin, and his cousin refused. She was a pious woman. The days went on where she needed money, and he told her, "I give you more money." It was a very hardship, and she said it was a very hardship upon her. Said, "I give you that money, but that which I asked you before years ago, you're going to give it to me." And she said yes. And they got to a point. I don't want to describe the point where they got. They got to a point where they were going to do the haram. Then he realized something. He said, "Why am I doing this?" And he got up away from her, And he said, oh Allah, if you know that I got away from her for your sake and your sake only, then open this a little bit. And opened a little bit. What was the third one, Abdullah?
A man had someone that worked with him. And when he finished working, he didn't take his wages from the man. And he just went off. And he came back, but that was after the man used his wages to think of it. When he came back, he said, okay, pay me my wages. And I said, okay, here's all of your stuff. So he thought he was joking or something, but he wasn't joking. When he took it, he didn't give the man anything for having invested his wages.
So basically what he was saying, Abdullah, as he mentioned is correct, is someone didn't take his wages, which was a sheep, and that sheep, he took it and invested it and it became a whole valley. When the man came back, he said, you remember I came here one time, and I came here one time long ago, and I left my wages here, I never took it? He said, yes. He said, you see that valley? It's all over there. The man said, fear Allah and don't mock me. Where's my sheep? He said, I'm telling you, that whole valley is yours. So the man went and took the whole valley and went. Because you know what happens, one sheep becomes two, they mated, and the two had children, and years later, it was a whole valley. He took the whole sheep and went. The man didn't ask of nothing for him, not even something to compensate for feeding him. He took the whole valley and went. So he said, oh Allah, if you know this, we did this sincerely for your sake. Watch how I make dua. Watch how the dua is. Because you may change the sentence around and make it to be shirk. He said, oh Allah, you know, we did this for your sake and your sake only. Open this a little. The third part opened and they went on their way. And that's how Allah accepts the dua. So the first one we said you ask Allah. The second one, you can use good deeds that you have done to ask Allah to give you that which you want. The third one is do not rush the dua. The Prophet ﷺ said your dua will be accepted as long as you don't rush it. Like I mentioned earlier, you can make dua 10 years. In that 10 years it's not accepted. Don't ever be caught saying, how come Allah didn't accept that dua for me? That is a sign that Allah will not accept your dua for you. What Sister Yuman said is totally different. Oh Allah, I need it. Something you need desperately in a week or 2 weeks. Oh Allah, I need it in a week. Or I need it in 3 days. Oh Allah, but don't go back and say, oh Allah, why didn't you accept this for me?
Is it bad to think that Allah is not going to do it?
Yes, I'm going to get to that point actually. Give me a minute and we'll get to that point. To think of what Allah is going to do. Okay, the fourth point is ask in good. Don't ask Allah to destroy your Muslim brothers or to harm them or to you're jealous of someone to Allah to do something bad to them. You ask that, and not only that, but all your dua is going to be rejected along with that. The fourth one I think, or the fifth one, is as Muhammad mentioned, is you gotta think righteous of Allah. You gotta think when you make the dua, Allah, you gotta think that as though 100% that dua is going to be accepted. If you don't have, because the hadith says, hadith al-Qudsi, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Allah says about himself, I am what my servant thinks of me. If you think Allah is, you're in a hardship, the biggest hardship, you think that Allah is going to get you out of that hardship, or you need something so bad and you keep asking Allah, and you think 100% of Allah, like He's going to give it to you, then that's going to happen. That's what the hadith al-Qudsi means. أنا عند ظن عبدي فيما يظن بي. The next point is your heart must be there. You don't go make dua. You don't make a dua and you're wandering where, with your job or whatever. You can make the dua standing, sitting, laying, before you see it. You don't have to raise your hand. You don't have to raise your hand. It's good to raise your hand, but you don't have to. But when you make the dua, your heart be there. Your heart be there. You don't have your heart and mind, don't let them wander somewhere else and you just mumble in a dua you memorize. That's no good. You gotta be there and your mind be with your dua. Next point is it's good to raise your hands, but you don't have to when you make dua. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah, listen to this hadith, Allah is embarrassed if someone raises his hands to Allah that He turned them down empty-handed. Meaning you ask, Ya Allah, give me this, give me this. Allah is embarrassed to put your hand down and return them empty-handed. You know, if you come and ask me, I'd be more than glad to return your hand empty-handed because I'm cheap. But Allah is not like that. Allah is embarrassed to let His hand of His servant go down empty-handed. And you know, there's some innovations. You know, you can't after salah. Some people, after every salah, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, they end up raising their hand. No, that's not right. After every salah, you don't do that. After every salah, you say Astaghfirullah, 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 or Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah Akbar. Both are narrated by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You used to either end Astaghfirullah, then you say Subhanallah 33 times, then you read Ayatul Kursi. When you're done with all your tasbih, then you raise your hand. Then you raise your hand. Or raising your hand in Jum'ah. Raising your hand in Jum'ah is also innovation. When the Imam makes a dua, don't raise your hands. If you want to say Ameen, you may say Ameen. But for the Khatib to raise his hands like most of the Khatibs do, or for you to raise your hand and you're in the audience, that's the innovation. See, why is it now? You must disobey the Imam. You must disobey them because he's an ignorant Imam who says that. He doesn't know about innovation. In a prayer is, when a Sahabi seen another raising his hand in the Jum'ah, he said, you know what he said to him? In two narrations of it, he said, put down your hands, may Allah curse those hands. You know what? It was a huge, big innovation. How could this man raise his hand and the Prophet led us 23 years khutbah and he never raised his hand? Who are you to come and raise your hand? Who are you to come and innovate something in this hand? He's telling another Sahabi, it was running to him. He was shocked. Put down your hands, may Allah curse those hands. And this is authentic. So you can't raise your hands in areas where you shouldn't be innovating. At night time, you're in your house. Raise your hands until your hands you can no longer hold them up. Raise them, and the Prophet ﷺ used to raise them sometimes equivalent to his shoulders, sometimes very high, sometimes hold them together. There's no precise way as how to hold them. In Badr, when the Prophet in Uhud, in Badr, when the Prophet ﷺ was making dua for the Ummah, Abu Bakr was behind him holding his upper garment, because every time he made dua, his hands are up, it keeps falling down. When the Prophet ﷺ is making dua and worried about the Ummah, making dua, oh Allah, if you destroy this group, no one will be worshipped after this ever again, and kept making dua, and Abu Bakr behind him pulling up his garment, because his hands were so up high. Yes? Not in Islamic stuff, no. In Islamic belief, in ibadah, there's nothing called bid'ah hasana. You could call a car a bid'ah hasana if you would like to, but this has nothing to do with ibadah. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, وَكُلَّ بِدْعَةٍ ضَلَالَةٍ. You with me? What does kull mean? Every bid'ah. He didn't say there's some bid'ah. The Sahaba, the Khulafa al-Rashidin had the right to do in Islam. It's not called innovation. What they do is not called innovation, because the Prophet ﷺ allowed Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, said, follow my sunnah and the sunnah of the guided Khalifas after me. So their sunnah is a sunnah we consider. It's not an innovation. But anyone now tell us, that I want to innovate something. Actually, that's why we have most of the non-authentic hadith in our books. People weren't into innovation. They said, we're not lying against the Prophet, we're lying for him. And he makes tons of hadith. If you say La ilaha illallah 1,000 times, you get biggest paradise in heaven. And it's a lie. He said, we're not lying against the Prophet, we're lying for him. This is a good innovation. They said this was a good innovation. Okay, sure.
In
No, we could raise your hand. You raise your hand, yes you can. Because where Islam allowed us to, where Ibadah allowed us to, we can do that. But you can, in some salah, out of the blue, raise your hands after. For example, some people do ruku' and get up and raise their hand. You don't do that. How come you don't do that? The Prophet never did that. Who are you to do it? He did it in qunut. Yes, we have a proof on that. So we could follow in that footsteps. Go ahead. No?
There are three ways to it. There's dua is accepted.
Name them. What are they?
It's accepted directly as you ask it. It's accepted with a different form. It's accepted individually.
Yes. Not accepted on the day of judgment, but you get reward in compensation for it. In the day of judgment, afterlife, probably in your grave, Allah will take away sins from you, add to your deeds. Something like that.
I heard that some people ask the dua that their dua is being accepted and not paid for. And that's the day of judgment, it's not accepted.
Specify that?
Yeah, they say I don't answer my dua then so that they can get the deeds when they're judgment, but then accepted.
I don't know of any of the Sahaba who specify something like that. Good idea? No, leave it. You should leave it up to Allah. Allah chooses what's best. You could ask Allah, I want this business, I want this business, I want this business. And actually some of the Sahaba said this. You ask Allah for something and you will not know how bad, had you got that something, how bad it was for you and for your religion until you meet Allah on the judgment day. Had you gotten that business, probably would have kept you busy from your prayer. You would have been in hellfire or, whatever it is. So you don't know what's good for you. Allah chooses. Leave the choice to Allah. You make dua and leave the choice to Allah. Okay. What is the last one? Go ahead, sister. Go ahead. Yes, for all prayers. You should not make dua after prayers like most of the masjids in our areas do. That's an innovation. A lot of masjids, as soon as they're done with the prayer, they turn around and start making dua. The imam make dua. That's both in Jum'ah and after prayer. Because you know why? He's not any better than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet never did that. The Prophet ended his prayer, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. Or Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And he'd be occupying himself saying Subhanallah, Subhanallah, 33. Had he one time, just one time, said Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullah and make dua, we say okay, make dua. But the problem is in matters of Islam, we hold steadfast to exactly how the Prophet did it. Areas of worship, precisely how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it. Had he did it one time, we would say, yeah, it's okay. But he never even did it once. And also, to look at it realistically, you were just praying. You were just praying. How come you stop? You're not making the dua and praying. As soon as you're done, when one of the best times to pray in, and you choose a lesser time to pray in it. That's not right. And it's unfortunate, it's popular in our communities, but these are the bid'ah the scholars warned of and that we shouldn't do. I mean, they're not major bid'ah that consider someone a kafir, but there's some things that are not appropriate and they're not right.
So what time frame after which you can start making the weather? Is it after that?
Do you want me to give you 10 minutes? I told you make the subhan, astaghfirullah, make tasbih, pray the sunnah, you're on your own now. You do whatever you want now. The thing is, the Prophet gave us a certain order of what to do. Follow that. Like some of the Sahaba said, actually Imam Malik said, whomever innovates in Islam is telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you didn't finish this religion, you didn't know how to precisely finish the matters of worship in this religion. We're here to finish it off. After you're done with everything, you make dua as long as you want.
You make dua for Salah, not on a regular basis, one time maybe, for instance, like if you're praying Jama'ah, you want to make a dua, and during Salah, you can't make the whole dua, you're not done. I'm not saying like a regular thing, but you need every now and then maybe. as long as it's in here that it's not part of the sunnah, it's just a dua, you know what I'm saying? It just happens to fall right after salah.
Well, are you okay?
No, I mean, some people just, you know, you don't have to do this.
Well, if you delay it, if you keep it in your mind and delay it till after you're done, because you're supposed to, the best thing to do after dua is to do the tasbih, and after you're done with that, do the dua. If it's something urgent, you want to make a dua, and it's once in a while, okay. But no, you go to some masjid, after every prayer, they have to make a dua. And that's not right. No, this is not a doubtful thing. This is a clear innovation. No, if it's someone after prayer, remember he needed something very bad, and it was once in a big time. The definition of a bid'ah is something you innovate and consistently do it. Consistently do it. So if you just remember, I need something right now, or I don't want to do tasbih today, I'm going to make a dua once in a year. Well, you know, you can't say that's a bid'ah. He did that. That's not what's the best, but you can't say that's a bid'ah. We're talking about something totally different when people are persistent. Oh. What is it? You can't say that because you're on your own. You could make dua from Dhuhr till Asr. But if every minute of your life, you can finish the rest of your life making dua. Where's my Abdullah? قلة أدب. بالعافية إن شاء الله. جزاك الله خير. Okay, the next one, what was the last one we said? Raising the hands. Okay, the next thing you gotta watch where you eat from. I don't mean eat from, where you preserve your income from. Because if you eat from haram, don't expect your dua to be accepted, because the Prophet ﷺ said, isn't one of you ashamed to eat and drink from haram? Then expect Allah to answer his dua. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're eating and drinking from haram, and then you're expecting Allah to answer your dua. And I don't mean eating, just precisely eating. Bringing your income from haram. I also mean dealing in usury, dealing in interest is also considered eating. Why do we say eating, Yusuf? Because the majority is eating. Meaning eating haram. Usually eating is haram. But if you bought a house in haram, and that house is still in haram, and you didn't repent from that, then you better work on that. You gotta work on that. Go ahead.
Is alcohol and liquor still haram?
Of course, 100% haram. They're haram in this country and haram everywhere. Right, Eid? You know, Eid is a Ramoni. Yes, if your income is from haram, don't expect that. Allah may respond to it, but that's one of the reasons your dua may be defied, is because you're eating in haram. Go ahead, bro.
The person gets his money from his parents and getting haram way.
Well, you can't say that is haram, no, because it's not your business what your parents did. You accept that gratitude. You can't, if you're supporting them in any way, if you're taking from them, is supportive of them in any way, maybe part of haram. But someone comes to me and gives me a grant, 10,000. It's not, first of all, it's not my duty to ask where you got this from. Did you deal in interest? It's not my business. Second of all, I know it's not my business what he did with it. Okay, the next one is a very important one. Is if you don't ordain the good and forbid the evil, one of the curses of Allah not responding your dua is because you don't ordain the good and forbid the evil. And that's probably something we all fall in. You see something that's haram, and that's a clear hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, some of you will continue not ordaining the good and forbidding the evil to the point that they will raise their hands and ask Allah, and then Allah will not accept from them. Meaning, not is it that you're doing haram, you're not doing nothing haram, but you see evil in front of you, you go around with friends that will do evil, and you see that evil, but you don't tell them that's haram. or you don't do one of the three ways of forbidding the evil, that in itself is a cause for you. Clear hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said that won't accept your dua. Go ahead. Yes?
You said that whatever you're not getting the evil and Allah won't accept your dua, but then that kind of like dreams won't be what you're asking for, but it's related. So one says you're asking on really.
Yeah, but there's restrictions to that. No, these are hadith. What I'm telling you are hadith. That why I specify these things? How come I didn't specify other things? It's because there's clear hadith on these issues. That if you do these issues, Allah will may respond to you, but these are a cause for you not to your da'wah not to be responded by Allah. But just because Allah in one verse said I'm going to give you, there's other restrictions in other verses. So you know the rule, we take all the verses together. Right? Okay. You take the last... Go ahead, Al.
Is it best to show patience when forbidding the evil? What is does the Prophet come under the
You gotta use wisdom. Doesn't mean if you see someone, doesn't mean for forbidding the evil, doesn't mean you hit him on his head. It means sometimes you probably have to talk to him for weeks. Not mentioning that, but your intention of getting close to him is to change that evil. That's changing evil right there. I want to be close to him so he can like me and trust me. And then after he trusts me, I tell him, you know that liquor store you own is haram. That's how you do. That's good. That's good. Meaning, so forbidding the evil doesn't mean hold a stick, like many think of it, image it, and say, you gotta forbid. Forbidding the evil comes by hand, and it comes by tongue, and it comes by heart. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you change it by heart, what is it? Weakest, you don't have a tiny drip of iman in you. But if you change it by hand, that's usually for the Khalifa. The Khalifa can cut the hand of someone who stole. The best thing is by tongue. And in the situation we're in today, the only way you can change things is by using appropriate, nice language and nice talk and good manners with people. That's the best way to change the munkar nowadays. That's the only way I think that you can change munkar. Unless you want to end up in prison.
What is the evil that you think saying is going to cause more fitness? Like I know somebody might do something, but I don't know how to feel. It's not possible.
If it's going to do more fitna, the rule is if you're going to forbid an evil and it's going to cause a bigger evil, you leave that evil. You leave it evil. That's a rule unanimous among scholars. No, you will not be, because you left it because you don't want a bigger evil to come. Okay. The last point is you choose the right times for Allah to respond to your dua. Could someone give me one example? Go ahead. When is it? Sunset. Do you know a hadith on that? Sunset is actually the opposite. That's when the devils worship. The Asr is, I don't know. Allahu A'lam. I don't know if you know the hadith, when the best times for dua is. Jum'ah. Yes. Okay. Alright, you added Jum'ah, that's good. Yes. It's an hour in Jum'ah. We don't know exactly one hour, but after we did Abu Jibril's dua, I think it's the hour the Khatib is on the Jum'ah. Actually, there's a hadith that says that there's 1 hour, not 1 hour, 60 minutes. There's a time frame in Jum'ah. But the literal meaning of it in the hadith is 1 hour. There's a time frame in Jum'ah where if you make a dua, Allah will not reject it. There's another hadith that I found that's authentic, and I think explains it. It's when the Imam is on the minbar. So when he sits down in between, make the dua. Right after, make the dua. And also, use Friday in its entirety to make dua. What another one? Name it. Go ahead. Last night,